Okay, so first thing, right? In today's class, first thing what we're gonna do is understand the, like sign up and sign in form, right? Let's understand that. So, I kept it outside of the root, right? I just keep it where it was before. That's why you don't see that dashboard and all that when you try to sign in, right? When you go here, when you click sign in, you just see the empty box, okay? Empty page, right? Nothing else. So we keep it like that. And even same with the register also, right? So let's try to understand this code, okay? So in auth, I have two folders, sign in and sign up, right? And there is a button in the nav bar. You remember the nav bar, right? The header section, you have a button here, okay? We used to be button called sign in here, right? So now I have a user button, and this user button has the link for the sign in and all that, okay? So this is the nav bar, fine. So let's discuss just about our sign in, right? But let's start with sign up. So in sign up, there is a page, right? Page, and then you have sign up action, okay? Action, basically sign up action means the function, right? Which is gonna handle server side code. In the Next.js now, right? Before we used to write API to communicate with our server, okay? Front end and server. If you have to communicate, right? We used to write API. So, we have like API folder, and then inside, right? Maybe sign in folder, there you can have route.tx, and you write all the API, okay, in the route. But in Next.js 14 and after 14, right, there is something called server action, right? If you go to the Next.js, server action, right? Action. Let's quickly server action, right? So see, you can write server. Basically, you can write function here, right? In server action page, you just write a function like create maybe user, right? Something like that. You have to mention use server. Just mention use server, right? So that this function will run in server only. I mean, remember, we have two things: the client who is viewing the page, right? And the server. In Next.js, we have everything within the Next.js project, right? There is a server, everything is server, all the files and folder are in server in Next.js, but we make our component client. How we make that? Anyone remember how we make our component client in the Next.js? So let's just look at this. Yeah. Basically,
okay, I was going to answer you. I was going to say you put use client as at the top of the file.
Exactly. So this is use client, right? And here you can see use server. So the server action means if you have used server, right, you can write just a function, and this function can easily communicate with the database. You don't have to create API, okay? You have a function, it will communicate with your database, right? And do all the whatever you need to do, like back in things, like in our Express, we used to do with API, right? But here, no need. You just write a simple functions. The only thing is, for example, this is a sign up, right? You just call your function in your form now. This is the client form. So client can access this function, okay? Can have access to that function, right? So we know we have the data, right? Inside on submit, when you submit the value, you're going to have this, all the form value. You just call your sign up function from the server action and pass that value, await, and you're going to respond the result from there, right? If the result is success, then you can add some toast message, display something successfully, and maybe you can just go to the sign in page, router.push, right? And then, because router is a hook, use router, right, which is used in client side, okay? Hooks are always for client, so that's why we use router to push to the different page, right? Like sign in page. else you can display error. Okay, so we understand now the server side, right? Functions which can deal with the backend means anything like before we used to create API. Now we can have server side component or function, right? And we can do the same stuff there also. Still we can, I mean, if you don't like server, right? So, I mean, server actions are very good, but if you don't like, you can create API also, right? Inside the API and do the same thing. You can do that, no problem. Okay, but now things are changing. Stick to the server side, right? So we added same thing here. So if you look at the in every folder sign up, right? I have server action, I have sign up action. So here I will write the code to interact with my database or anything to do with the server, right? Use server here. I have form, so I just put it together, right? Maybe you can have like separate folder somewhere like action folder, and then in that folder you can write all your server actions, right? You can keep it there. That is also fine. But for now it's simplest. So now let's look at the form, right? The form is same, okay, like what we have done yesterday, right? Nothing changes in the sign up form, exact same thing. The only thing, right, how we make nice was in the page. What we did, right, we call our card component again, okay, and then we call our sign up form, right? So in the we just added some CSS here. If you look at this HTML, you have card. So the div main box is max with empty, right? That is the 448 size. The box size is 448, and it's in the center. MX auto, right? It will make in the center. Okay. In a small device, it will be width full 100%, right? But large device, it will stuck at the maximum width of 448 pixel. So that's why you see that small box. Now inside that box, there is a card. Card has header. In the header, you can see the image, right, of our logo. Okay. And then after that, there is a title called sign in. And then you have description, right? Select a method to sign in your account, something like that. We have only right now credential, right? The sign up form. We don't have Google click to sign in yet, but it's okay, right? I mean, so you have header section done, and then card content, class name, space y4, and then you just call the sign up form here, right? And done. So that is all code to make something looks like this, right? So even if you go to the sign up, same thing, okay? Same concept, right? Now if you look at the sign in, I just copy this one, right, to the sign in also. So here sign in form, we only have in sign in, we have only like email and password, only two field, email and password, right? That is all I have. And then here login button, and then we have the like don't have account, click here to go to sign up page, right? That is all. So that's the sign up form. Okay, again the process is same. It's gonna have a schema, right? Okay, schema, I'm gonna talk about that also just now, right? But if you look at this sign in with credential, right, you're gonna send email and password. Okay, so here just look at here, unsubmit, right? Unsubmit, you have value. We're gonna call our schema, right? We're gonna test this value. Okay, now remember the one thing, right? I had an issue. Okay, today it took me like long time, right, to figure out. I mean, it was very simple mistake, but I was just keep confusing, right? I got confused. So when, right, schema is what? Try to understand schema. Schema is something like a blueprint of your data, right? In this sign-in form, our data is what? The username and password. So I had a schema here before, like login schema, right? Here. And then I was trying to export that and using the same schema also in my server action here, right? Here also, I was using the same schema, okay? To check the data, right? When I receive from this sign in with credential function, because this function is a server action. We're gonna send the data right here. Okay, and I was checking that data, like with the just validating with my schema, right? And I was exporting from here, from from front end to the server, right? And there was an error. Okay, so remember, when you have schema to be used in front end and also in your server, right? Try to separate that. Okay, don't keep it in the client component. Okay, don't do that, because you cannot get it in your server, right? When you're running the code, you cannot access from here. Okay, cannot do that. So that's why what we have done, I just go to the lib, right? And I say schema and create login schema file just outside, somewhere outside, right? Here, see, I just bring email and password, right? And export now, export this. So I can use in my sign-in form by importing here. Let's look at here. This is the sign-in form, right? Sign-in form. Okay, one second. Sign-in credential. Okay, fine. So if you look at somewhere here, where is that? I supposed to importing, right? Somewhere here. Yeah, here. Look at this. So I just import login schema from the lib schema login, right? And then I can use now same thing. Okay, I just pass here, and also here, right? Here I can test now. Okay, login schema dot safe parse, right? Value. If the validation success, then it will have success true, right? If no validation success, then it will return false. These things we have done, during our what do you call that? Our issue tracker project, right? To test with this safe parsing. Okay. So now you have the data inside this validation, right? Already. Okay. When you do the safe parsing and pass the value, right? You have data inside here. So validation.data will be email and password, right? And that an email and password you're going to pass to your sign in with credential function, that is server action, right? Which is inside now here, server login action, right? This is the function sign in with credential. So now I want to test that data. Sometimes, if someone try to like hack, right, and want to send the login credential without going through the form, that is a situation, right? Then you can, even you can test here. Okay, just call your schema, right? Just call your schema and test that data. Right now the schema is very simple, right? Not too much test, simple testing, right? But still you can do that here. So that's why it's important to store somewhere outside. Okay, so now from this project, right, outside of my client component, I can call that easily, no problem. Okay, I can pass the value, and it should give us now basically, we can do that, like no validation filtered success, then we can return error message, error, right? Else we can get validation filtered data. We have email and password here. After that, now we are trying to log in, right? So what we're going to do, get user by email. So I have created the function, right? Utility function, you can call it anything, right? So see, I'm just importing that function from leave action folder, right? So inside the leave action, we can write here also, right? But just to make code clean, just in the action, I have like a user action, and you can get, a couple of function here, right? Like get user by email, get user by ID. So you just call that function, pass the ID, and it will return you the user, right? Same thing, get user by email, you have to send the email, right? As a parameter, this function will get that email and return the user. That is all. So, like you have the email. Where is that? Sorry, we are somewhere here, right? Okay, we were in the action folder. Okay, so get user by email, you send the email, that function will return back the user information with email, right? You have stored in the existing user file, then we will check if no existing user, or if there is no existing user.email or no password, right? Then return error, email does not exist. Just give it error, right? Done. Return it, okay? Then now we're gonna do the sign in things, right? Signing things here, okay? We're gonna run our sign because you are trying to log in, right? So how login happens? We are using next auth for that. So the next auth start from here. So first we're gonna call sign in function from next auth. We have to await that and call it what method of signing. I mean, how you are trying to sign in, by Google or GitHub or credential. So username and password is credential, right? So we just pass our credential here. Simple. And then it will ask for the email password, right? And make it redirect false for now. Means even you can write redirect if you have redirect link or something, right? You can put it here, but let's make it false. You don't want to redirect, right? We're going to redirect through our form right here later, okay? So that is all. You just have to call this function and pass the email and password, right? It will return response, okay? It will return what? Response. We're going to say if response, if there is a response, right? And if there is error, then return success false and error message, okay? Else, let's say there is no error, right? Then you just return success true, message sign in successfully, right? Just return that message. Fine. Let's say in try block there is network issue, something error happens, right? Then it will go to the catch block and it's gonna check for error in the browser, in the route, right? In the route, okay, it will check because in the browser you're gonna get the link for sign in, okay? There will be some long string, right? So there we're gonna check error instance of auth error, right? If this error is the instance of auth error, means if this error is of authentication error, like something error happens during the authentication, then we have couple of things there, okay? Like credential sign in error, something, you will get this property right in that link, okay? So we'll check if error dot type, this value is error dot type, okay? If that is matches, right? Then we make success false and just send the error message invalid credential, right? Okay. Default just return success false again and something went wrong maybe in the default value, right? So I was just testing here, Okay, that is all, right? The thing is now how these things work, right? The point is to understand now next auth, okay? So let's go to the next auth. So I just follow here, right? In the auth, where is auth here? This one, okay? Migration guide. We have to install this. We did study, right? npm install next auth beta. We have to install that. Then now, right, in the next auth v5, it says, okay, just create the file in the like in the root, right? Auth ts and add this code, okay? So we are using Prisma, right? So for Prisma, and also, okay, just after adding this, right? Okay, we have added this. That is first step. Let's finish that. Second step is API auth next auth, right? Getting all routes, okay, like getting all routes, right? For catching all routes, you have to put this code, okay? So you're going to import handler from the auth, which is here, right? You're exporting handler. Look at here. You are exporting this handler. You grab that, and that handler has get and post. Okay, I will show you something, right? Let's say, I mean, we are running the server already. So if I go here, localhost 3000 API, right? And I say auth providers. Let's check providers, right? Because all route, okay? API auth and bracket, okay? In the bracket dot next auth. That means catch any route here. So I'm just calling providers, right? And see what I will get here. See, right now I only have credential provider, okay? ID, name, and type, signature, whatever, right? So I just have credential. If you have GitHub, Google, you will get all that information, right? So see, we have access to these things now already. Okay, so that is catch all route, which we added here, right? In the app, API, auth, next auth, right? Inside route, you're gonna put that code, okay? Done. That is the second step. The next step is now, right? It's saying, okay, in the V5, in the latest version of next auth, right? You have access to auth function now in the server component, in the middleware, right? Client component. But if you want to use auth in the client component, you must use session hook, right? You have to use this use session hook, okay, in order to get the auth in the client, right? Route handler, you're going to access auth directly. Even API router, you can access auth. Everywhere you can access, right? Node.js, if you're running Node.js something, you have auth request response, and you can get some value from there, right? Through auth, okay? So just remember, this is like a global, right? This is like auth is like a, like a standard global use function, okay? You can have access everywhere. Only thing is client component, you have to basically wrap in a hook, like session providers and all that, right? But we're not doing that all for now. Let's forget about that. Only thing is we have access to auth, and that auth will give us the session, right? But before that, we still need to get through a couple of more changes, right? The next thing is we are using Prisma, okay, to communicate with our database, right? So for that reason, see what it's saying now, right? Age compatibility. So Prisma does not work in the age, right? So I don't know. I mean, they have some kind of like, basically in the age case means, I think it is related to database, right? Something like that, okay? So unless your database and its adapter is compatible with the age runtime infrastructure, right? There is some kind of runtime infrastructure, okay? And if that infrastructure does not have support for the database adapter, then these things will not work. Okay, the way we have done this, right? Like adding providers and everything here is not going to work. I mean, we have to do slight modification, right? So what is the modification? I will tell you now. So it says, it's saying, it is suggesting, right? Just create auth config file.ts, right? The file name are only a convention, okay? They can be anything, right? Anything you can put. Just create this file. In that file, right? Now you import your basically whatever provider you need, just put there, right? And also import types next auth config from next auth. You have to import this and just like add it satisfies next auth config, right? So basically, see, it has type checking for the provider here, type checking, right? Import type, okay, that is what, right? Just type checking. So the type checking must be done outside, okay, outside of this auth, right? That is all. And then when you export this, you're gonna get, like you are importing, right? Inside the auth, you're gonna import auth config from here, okay? See, this is default export, right? So you can name it anything here. So we'll just call auth config, and from here, right? Whatever you export from here, like all the providers, you're gonna spread, okay? Just spread it like this, okay? Now you can add the adapter, right? You are allowed to add the adapter here, and it is still exporting auth, handler, sign in, sign out. Now we have access to all this function, right? So handler we use in our API, all catch route right there. Auth will be used for getting session. We have sign in now, right? See, sign in function and sign out function. So let's look at the sign in, because now I'm going to sign in, right? Basically, and how I can do that. So this is little code, not enough code. Let's go back to our VS Code and try to understand now. So only two things, right? Auth function, auth file and auth config file. That is all. And also there is a middleware. So I have done nothing in the middleware, just this code, right? We're not gonna write like a complex middleware handler, right? Because you can check all the routes here also, okay? Because this file, the only for this code is this middleware will make sure our auth is alive, right? We have a auth if you logged in, okay? That is the only reason for adding this code. Again, you are importing auth from the auth file and exporting, right, as middleware. You are importing and exporting in the same line. When you have to export something after import, you can write in one line like this. And you can give different name also, right, as middleware. Okay, so this is how you can write. And that is all we're going to do in the middleware. Next thing is understanding auth and auth config, right? So let's look at the auth now. See, in the auth, right, you saw this much earlier, okay? Adapter, Prisma adapter, and we have imported Prisma, right? We import auth config from auth config, and we have Prisma adapter, which we have installed, okay? Auth Prisma adapter we need to install, right? Because if you want to use Prisma, so just go to the database here, right? Click on Prisma and look at here. It says must install auth Prisma adapter. We have already Prisma clients and all that, okay, before, right? Prisma we have installed everything. You just need to install this. So we have done that, right? So you can import now Prisma adapter and you can use it like this. Okay, adapter, right? So that, you know, like for example, when you're creating the, you know, like when you're creating the database, right? Not database. Let's say when you have to log in with Google, you want to store the information of the Google also, right, inside your database. This adapter will take care of that part. Okay. So now let's continue. Let's go back here. This is what we were looking earlier, right? Yeah. Let's get back here. Okay. So first, forget about this code. Okay, I'm going to come back here later, right? If I remove this, that is what we saw from that, you know, given code here. This one, right? Look at here. That is all we have. You know, next auth, adapter, session, and this one, right? So I removed a couple of things which I added after, right? I'm going to add right now here. Okay, we're going to talk about this later, but before that, how we are creating, right, or how we are signing in. Okay, sign in function now. See, when you call the next auth, we have installed next auth already, right? So you import next auth from next auth. This function will give you this function. Basically, you know, we just have to pass everything inside this function, right, as an object. Okay, that is one thing. Remember that this function gives sign in, sign out, and auth for the session. This is what we use, right? Sign in. So where we are using sign in, let's say we have now, just imagine we have the sign in function to let people sign in, right? Okay. So where is that function now? Where are we going to use this function? In the action, login action. Login action function is going to, you know, like from the login form, this function will get the data, the value, email, and password. We're going to validate that. And then we're going to call our sign in function from next auth. Then you pass the credential. Now sign in work for Google, sign in work for GitHub, and all the provider, right? The same function. Only thing is you have to pass what is the provider. So in our case, credential, that is login and password, email and password, or whatever username password, right? By filling out the form, okay? And then you pass the data, right? Like this. Email, password, redirect, false, done. This sign in function will return back something like, you know, some message, right? Whatever, okay? So either there will be error or success, right? So if the response error, then you just return some error message, right? Calling success to false, error will be response.error, right? You can return that. let's say if there is no error, then you can send some message like sign in successfully, right? And also success to true, because we're going to use this value later, right? In our login place, okay? Like in our form here, right? Then you're just sending some message from the cats. Okay, that is what I talked. So see how I get this sign in. Now look at the form here, right? So once sign in is success, once let's say like everything is done in this function, right? Sign in with credential function, everything is finished. This function we are returning, okay? We are returning this value, right? We are returning something here. Look at this. We are returning these things, this message, right? We are returning. So here we're gonna get that information back to this variable, okay? So I will just put question mark, right? I don't know why we're not getting this. Means if there is a response success, then toast will run login success. If there is response dot error, then toast, you just add the error message, right, in the toast, okay? That is all. And also we call the router from the use router hook, right, to push to the root home page, okay? That is all, right? So that is all for this sign in, okay? Once sign in is done, right, let's say this will sign in. Basically it will create the session, okay? It will create the session, right? When you sign in, it will automatically create the session in our browser, because our strategy, right, look at here, is JSON web token. So this will automatically create the token in our browser. Done. Next thing is how you can extend the token, right? Let's say the token only have name and email. You need maybe ID, right? Or maybe you need, let's say, the role like admin or something like that added to that token. How you can do that? So that's why we have callback here, callback, right? Properties in the next auth. See, I'm just writing here above, right? Just write a callback. The first is session, okay? This session has few things. You're gonna get session, you're gonna get token, right? This token, okay, if I console log here, console.log, right, token, you can check, okay, token, right, and see what we are getting back once we log in, right? It runs in the server. We should get something here, right? So let's try to go back here to our page, right, and try to log in. Okay, I will show you now. So you're gonna see something here, okay? What is token now, right? So email, and I will put my password. See, we get some token, right? We have name, email, there is picture, there is sub, right? This sub is like an ID, the ID, right, from our database, okay, from the MongoDB, right? That is all we have. So this ID now, in this token we have that ID, right? But I want to send that ID to the session so I can access here. Look at here, this ID I can access, right? The same thing to my session object. How I can do that? So I will check here, if token.sub, if this token has sub, right, and session.user, and also this session has user. This session has right now user, okay, but it has only name and email, right, and couple of couple of other stuff only, okay. If that is the true case, then I will say session.user, and I will add new property, because this is what, this is object. So object.id, I create new property in the object, right, and then add the sub, token.sub, okay, that's it, and then return the session, right? So, and here you can just call async out JSON web token, call the token, right, and return the token also. That is all you have to do. So by doing that now, right, I'm going to go back to my home page. So let's go to the home page here. That is root page, right? And I'm just displaying that, okay? See, I have access to this auth everywhere now. I can call this auth, right, from the auth. This auth, you have to await, because this is server, still server, right? So await auth like this, and this will return the session. See, json.stringify. Now I just convert that object to normal. Basically, like stringify the JSON file, right, to normal object like this. Okay, and that's why you're gonna see this here. Simple, right? That is what we displaying these things, okay, directly. So we have access to session now everywhere, right? The next thing is, what we have is this one, right? The button on the top. So if we go back now in our component in the shared folder, see there is a header and this is the user button, right? Simple enough. So we will now call this auth, right? We're going to call that auth, and we will check if there is a session, right? If that is true, then we're going to display something. If no session, then I want to return. If no session, then I want to return that sign in button with the link sign in, right? Like that. Okay. Let's say now you just install drop down menu, right? From the signin. See, signin has something drop down menu I just installed earlier, right? Just install this drop down menu so that you can get something like this. See, so you can create all this, right, with that this component. Okay, so we install that drop down menu and our code looks something like this. You have to import all this, the components from that UI drop down menu component, because once you install, you're gonna get that here inside your UI. Just call that. Also we're gonna talk about this later, but let's say we have this component, right? Now you return if someone is logged in already. I mean, if not logged in, then you're gonna return the button. If logged in, if that is true, right, then this not gonna happen. You're not returning this. What you're gonna return? You're gonna return this. So you have now drop down trigger as a child. I mean, this is just a component, right? Everything you have to look at now. First is trigger. Trigger means you clicking, right? Click. What you're gonna click? There is a button, and the button gonna have something like a session username, right? From session you can call the user and the name, right? You can call that because this session has already information about the user. Okay, so session.user.name, right? You call that, and I slice it to 2.1. Okay, like I just need 2 characters from the first, right? I don't want everything long name. Okay, if you go back here, you see just 2 characters like that. Okay, so that's the click event, right? And see, here is the class name, relative, width 8, height 8, rounded full, right? Margin left 2. So this is the CSS for that button. This is ghost, right? I mean, you can leave it like normal. You just want that normal button with the yellow orange one, right? You can leave it like that. That looks nice, I think. You want to change color, you can do it. But that is the click, okay, in the trigger, right? Next is drop down content, right? Like what are the things you want in the drop down? So we have this information and logout or sign out, right? So here that will go in the content part. Okay, so the first is label. You give the label like username, same session username. Then you have the email. That's what you see, right? The first thing, name and email. Then done. Then item, right? There are drop down. Okay, so in the content you have label, and then in the item you add basically sign out button, right? So you can add later, you can add a lot of item. If you look at the sign, see here, this is maybe the label, and you have a lot of item, right? You can add. So you can expand this. Normally with the item you can expand in the future, right? So as our project grow, we're gonna expand this in the future. So how we sign out now, right? See the sign out. I'm trying to sign out in the server. Okay, so this is the client component, right? This is because we are using all this, the click events and everything. This is a client component. Okay, so we have not used the client here. So sign out is not going to work directly, right? Like a button click, not going to work directly. So see how it works, right? We just use the form here, basically form, right? And in the action we call the function logout. Okay, I mean it should work, right? Let's see. I mean I have not, I mean before I used to like what they're suggesting, right? They suggest is use some kind of server action, right, in the next auth. Okay, somewhere here I saw, but it's okay, just leave it, right? It's working. In the action you just call the function logout. Okay, simply what is this logout function? If you go back, right, in our leave here, just created some simple function. Okay, action logout. Look at here, remember in the auth next auth, this one, right, use server here. In the auth we have sign out also exporting, correct? If you look at this sign out exporting, right, so that will do the sign out job automatically. So what we did, okay, we just call this sign out and create one simple logout function and await sign out. So when I click this logout, right, when I'm going to click or call this function, it will automatically sign out. Sign out means it will automatically remove the session from our system, right? So if there is no session, that means everything for the sign out will start working, right? That's what happened. This function will do the job. Simple enough. Okay, so that's why we call that function here. You have to import, right, on the top, leave actions logout, right, and we call it here. Okay, I mean we can add the server action here and write all that code, right, but we have written the code outside. We just call that function. Okay, we just call this function and it will do the job. And we have button now to click, design the button like just write some, if you want normal like the orange, just leave it, no class, right? So look at that, that's the orange button. Okay, sign out. So when I click this button, it will call that logout function from this file, which is a user server action right here. So still it will work. So if I click, see the session is gone. You see the null here, you don't have session, and you see the button, right? Because here what we are doing is there is no session. So no session means what? Don't have session, so no session means true, right? That means it returned this button. Okay guys, so that is all I have for this class, right? I mean we're gonna just, I will just add maybe the Google one should be okay, right? I was just gonna add something like a button here on the like login with Google, and attach same thing now, right? The function like sign in function with credential, the Google action, right? That's gonna happen, and it will do the rest of the job automatically, right? So we will look at that, but this is working. Just try that, right? Try to figure out all this. Hopefully it should be okay. Let me stop. If you if you get any question somewhere, right, please ask me. Okay.